Hi, it's Jeff here for VIP Vision, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to configure the date and time settings of a VIP Vision network video recorder. Now there are two ways we can do this, the first of which is to connect the recorder to a LAN and then connect the PC to that same LAN and configure the recorder using either Smart PSS or the web interface of the recorder. Alternatively, we can set this up using the user interface of the recorder. So connect a monitor directly to the HDMI port and a mouse to a USB port and configure it from the unit itself. This is the way that I'm going to be showing you in this video. So I'm just going to switch across to my recorder here. So as you can see, I'm showing you on an 8-channel professional series recorder. Keep in mind, everything that I show you here will also work on a compact series and ultimate series recorder with minimal differences. So the first thing to note is that I've got my date and time up the top here. So my date and time, well, you're not going to know it, but I'm not filming this at 2 a.m, so that's incorrect. And my date is also incorrect. Other than that though, I don't really like the way that my date's displayed. So my date's 2017, 05, 01. I'd much prefer for it to be displayed in the typical Australian format of day, then month, then year, rather than the reverse of that. I also don't particularly like the separators. I much prefer for the separators to be slashes instead of dashes. So the first thing I'm going to need to do to change that is to log into my recorder. So I'm going to right click and select main menu. Now I've got a pattern password set up on this recorder, so I could use my pattern password to log in. However, just to show you for recorders that don't necessarily have pattern passwords set up or that's not a feature on their firmware, I can show you the typical way of logging in here using username and password. So I'm going to log in with admin123, which is my password for my admin username on this recorder. Keep in mind that to change settings on recorders, we must have administrator rights on the recorder. So I'm going to go OK. Now we're presented with the main menu. So we have operation, info, and setting. Now we're going to be changing the date and time settings. So it's going to be from this menu down the bottom here, and date and time settings are a system level setting. So I'm going to select system. Now the first thing I need to select is general. It's a general setting, and from general we have general, date and time, and holiday tabs. Obviously it's the date and time tab that I'm looking for here. So I'm going to select date and time. Now this is the tab where we're going to need to change any settings that we need to change. So the first thing you can see up the top here is date format. Date format is what I was talking about before. I'd really much prefer that it was day, day, month, month, year, 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 instead of year, 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 month, month, day, day. So I'm going to select that. Time format, you can change to AM, PM, 12-hour time if you'd like. I much prefer 24-hour time, so I'm going to leave it at 24 hours. My date separator is the other thing that I wanted to change. So at the moment we have dashes or hyphens selected. I'm going to select slash, forward slash to be the date separator here. You also have the option of dots, but most people will probably want to select the slash. So I'm going to select slash here. You can see immediately that my date and time format has changed and the date separator has changed because I've got 01/05 2017 now, so the 1st of May 2017, and my time is still set incorrectly in here with the date. So the first thing that I actually want to do before I go ahead and try and change my system time in here is to change my time zone. Now this is pretty straightforward, just select it from this drop down here. So click on the drop down and select it. Obviously this depends on your region, but I'm in Sydney at the moment, so I'm going to select GMT plus 10. Now you'll see that this has changed the time already, so this is why we don't want to change the time before we change the time zone. So the first thing I'm going to do is save that. You'll see up the top here that my date and time, or my time at least, has already changed. Now I'm going to want to change this time and date to what I think it should be, or what the current date and time is. So I'm just going to enter some values here just to show you how it's done. So let's say it was actually the 23rd or the 2nd of June. We'll leave 2017, and let's say it's actually 3:20. And I can save that. So now you can see up in the top right up here, my time has already changed. So all these settings have currently been applied. The next thing you may actually want to set is your daylight savings time. Now, keep in mind for places that don't use daylight savings time, such as Queensland, for instance, you obviously don't need to set this section. But in New South Wales, Victoria, etc., we do need to set daylight savings time to make sure that the time on the recorder is always correct. So I'm going to select daylight savings time, or DST. And now our daylight savings time type in Australia is based off the week or the day of the week. So I'm going to select week. Now, the start time is when we're going to go forward an hour, and the end time is when we're going to go back an hour. So in New South Wales and Victoria, our start time is typically the first Sunday in October at 2 a.m. And our end time is the first Sunday in April at 3 a.m. Keep in mind these settings should be changed for your area. However, that should be fine for the East Coast states that use daylight savings. So that's set up there. Now, what this is going to do is, as I outlined before, the first Sunday in October at 2 a.m., it's going to move the date, or the hours, the time hours forward 1 hour. And our end date, or rolling back an hour, is the first Sunday in April at 3 a.m. So that's fine, our daylight savings time is set up. Now this is all done. Now we could leave it set here if we wanted to, just make sure that you click the apply button. However, what you may notice is that over time, recorders tend to drift a little bit. Like any PC, any piece of electronics really, the clocks in them over time will drift a little bit. So you may notice that maybe after a year, the recorder might be out by a couple of minutes. There's not a great deal you can do about that. It's just related to the precision of the oscillator inside the machine. But without going into that, really the way to fix this is either to, obviously you could set it manually. We could come in here every month or so and make sure that the date and time is set exactly and then set it this way. However, it's probably a much better idea to synchronize automatically. Now, these recorders support NTP, or Network Time Protocol. So the first thing I'm going to want to do before I enable NTP is just apply any settings that we've already changed, just to make sure that we keep our time zone, we keep our daylight savings time, nothing gets messed up. So the next thing I'm going to do then is enable NTP by checking this box. Now, NTP, or a Network Time Protocol server, can be located either locally. So if the network that you're installing this recorder on has a Network Time Protocol server, we can pull our time information from that. However, in the vast majority of cases, our recorder is going to be requesting this time from a server located on the internet. Because of that, we need to make sure that before we do this, our internet connection is working correctly on the NVR. So essentially, if you can remote view your NVR, then you know that your internet connection is working properly. And that will help us out a lot. So the next thing that we do is we just want to enter an NTP server. Now, you could pick any of the ones that are on the internet. However, I suggest, just for simplicity's sake, you pick pool.ntp.org. Now, as I mentioned, if you have a local NTP server, you want to put those details in here instead. But I'm going to set pool.ntp.org. Our port is 123, that's the default NTP port, so we're going to leave that the same. And our interval is how often our NVR is going to request the time from the NTP server. So this is in minutes, so 60 minutes, which is more than enough to keep our time synchronized. So the next thing I'm going to do is just apply to save those settings. And you'll notice that my date and time have already changed without me doing anything else. So once I've clicked apply, it's fetched the date and time from there. You could also trigger a manual update if you wanted to. However, it's not typically necessary. Just click apply and everything should work. So now, what have we gone through here? We've set our date and time format. We've set our date separator. We've set our system time manually, but I've also shown you how to set the system time automatically using NTP. And I've shown you how to set up daylight savings time using this section here. So if I just go OK, that'll jump me out of here. I'm going to right click once more to get me out of the menu. And you'll see, just to as a check here, our date and time is now correct. So 19/07/2017 at now 9 p.m. And our date is correct. Our date format is correct. Obviously, we've got 2017 at the end and 19 at the start rather than the other way around. And our date separator is now a slash. So yeah, we've also seen that we can now, that's all propagated to the cameras as well automatically. So if I full screen, let's pick this camera here. If I full screen this camera, you can see that our date and time settings match those on the recorder. So there you have it. We've successfully changed the date and time settings on a VIP Vision Network video recorder. If you have any questions regarding this video or any other videos or any comments, anything you'd like to leave, please just leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, watch out for all of our future videos. We'll be going over a lot of other settings on these recorders. Yeah, but thanks for watching.